Let us start right where the action is, not at the beginning of the story, but right in the middle of it, because that is exactly where Arsenal find themselves today. The summer transfer window of 2026 has barely opened, and already the news coming out of the Emirates is moving fast, very fast. Within the last 24 hours alone, there have been confirmed departures, active transfer negotiations, World Cup performances directly influencing Arsenal business, and a manager whose fingerprints are on every single decision being made behind the scenes. This is not a quiet summer for Arsenal. The evidence suggests this club is in full motion, and today we are going to break down every single development, one by one, with clarity and precision. Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you will understand exactly what is happening at Arsenal right now, and why every single story we are covering today connects to a bigger picture. Before we go deeper, let me make something clear. What is at stake for Arsenal this summer is enormous. This is a club that has been building towards something special for several years. The squad has talent, the manager has a clear identity, and now, with the World Cup running simultaneously, the transfer market is being shaped in real time by performances on the biggest stage in football. Miss the right signings and Arsenal fall further behind the clubs competing at the very top. Get it right and this squad could take a genuine leap forward. Every story we are covering today feeds directly into that question. What version of Arsenal will we see next season? If you want this level of detailed, focused analysis on everything happening at Arsenal, hit that subscribe button right now. Jessica, Arsenal analyst, brings you the full picture every time. Now let us get into it. Dr. Zafar Iqbal has left Arsenal. The first thing that needs to be addressed today is a departure that did not involve a player or a manager, but one that tells us something important about the club. Arsenal head of sports medicine Dr. Zafar Iqbal has confirmed that he is leaving the club, and this was not a sacking. It was not a sudden exit. The departure came through a mutual agreement between the doctor and the club, following direct discussions between both parties. In his own words, Dr. Iqbal stated that after a challenging but ultimately successful season and following discussions with the club, both parties came to a mutual agreement to part ways. He described it as a short break after 21 consecutive years in professional football. He also addressed speculation that had been circulating online, making it clear that the simple truth is that the timing felt right for both parties to move in a new direction. He wished everyone at the club the very best for the future, what William Saliba said about Mikel Arteta's preparation. Now we move to something that shines a very different light on Mikel Arteta as a manager. William Saliba, one of the best central defenders in world football right now, has spoken about what it is like working under Arteta on a daily basis. And the picture he painted is one of extraordinary detail and preparation. Saliba described Arteta as a manager who analyzes everything. He said Arteta prepares the squad for all possible options, that he shows the players many videos, and that by the time a game arrives, the players have access to all possible and imaginable information. Now read that again carefully, because that is a very specific kind of praise. Saliba is not just saying Arteta works hard. He is saying that Arteta leaves nothing to chance. Every scenario is covered. Every opponent is studied. Every option is presented to the players in video form so that when the match begins, nothing should come as a surprise. This is what elite coaching looks like in 2026. It is not just tactics on a board, it is a full information environment where players are equipped to make decisions at the highest level because they have already processed every situation mentally before they step onto the pitch. The fact that Saliba, a player who has now experienced top-level football across multiple clubs and international competition with France, speaks about Arteta this way is deeply significant. This is a player who knows what elite management looks like. And he is saying Arteta operates at that level. For Arsenal as a club, this is crucial. It means the foundation being built under Arteta is not just about tactics or transfers. It is about a culture of preparation and detail that runs through everything the club does. William Saliba reveals the moment he nearly cried in front of Arteta. This story deserves its own section because it is one of the most revealing things Saliba has ever shared publicly. It is now clear that the journey William Saliba went through to become an Arsenal first-team player was far more painful than most people realise. When Arsenal signed Saliba back in 2019, one of the conditions of the deal was that he would be loaned back to Saint Etienne for one season. The expectation at the time was that he would return the following summer and begin integrating into the first team. But then Unai Emery was sacked, Mikel Arteta came in. And everything changed for Saliba. Arteta made it clear to the young defender that he would not be part of the squad for that campaign, not just not in the starting 11. Not even registered for the Europa League squad, he was completely outside the plans. Saliba has now revealed exactly how that moment felt. He told French publication France Football that he went to speak with Arteta just before the first championship match, and Arteta told him directly that he would not be taken into the group. Saliba said that in that moment he wanted to cry in front of the manager. He held back because he did not want Arteta to label him as weak or mentally fragile and send him back to France. For 6 months, every single week, Saliba was not even on the Europa League list. He described himself as being in a really bad place. And then there is the detail about the period he spent in Bondi during the COVID lockdown. He described the lifestyle as far from the standards of professional football. He talked about eating poorly, going to sleep at 5 in the morning, barely training, while in England the clubs had already resumed preparation. So when he returned to Arsenal in the summer of 2020, he was not in the physical or mental condition to force his way into the team. Now here is what that story tells us from an analytical standpoint. Arteta made a very difficult decision. He looked at a young player who clearly had enormous talent, and he decided that player was not ready. He did not soften the blow. He told Saliba directly. And he sent him out on loan to Nice and then to Marseille, where Saliba developed into the player the world now knows. The outcome proves the decision was correct. But in the moment, it nearly broke the player. That tension between a manager's long-term vision and a young player's short-term pain is one of the most difficult things to manage in football. Arteta managed it, and Saliba became one of the best defenders in the world. What is also important to note here is that many Arsenal fans criticised Arteta heavily at the time for the way he handled Saliba. The same people, as the evidence suggests, are not giving him enough credit now that the results are clear. That is a pattern worth recognising because it shapes how we judge managerial decisions in real time versus in hindsight. Victor Gyökeres refuses to face William Saliba at the World Cup. We stay with Saliba because his name keeps coming up, this time in the context of the World Cup. Arsenal striker Victor Gyökeres is at the tournament representing Sweden, and he was asked a direct question. Which Arsenal teammate would he least like to face at the World Cup? His answer was immediate. He said he would like to skip France, and then he named Saliba specifically. That single answer says everything about the level of respect Gyökeres has for his club teammate. This is a striker who scored a hat-trick against Ukraine in a World Cup playoff semi-final. This is a man who scored a late winner against Poland to send Sweden to the tournament. He is one of the most dangerous centre-forwards in world football right now. And when asked who he fears most at this competition, he names William Saliba. What makes this even more interesting is that Saliba himself has already spoken about what it is like to face Gyökeres in training and in competitive matches. He described the Swede as strong, fast and clinical in front of goal. He said it was so tough to play against him when they faced each other last season. So you have two world-class players, both at Arsenal, who have enormous mutual respect for each other, and they are now on opposite sides of the World Cup draw. France, according to the available information, are in a group alongside Senegal, Iraq and Norway. Sweden are in a group with the Netherlands, Japan and Tunisia. The situation is that for these two players to meet at the World Cup, both nations would need to progress from their groups and navigate the knockout stages. It is not guaranteed. But the desire from Gyökeres to avoid that matchup tells you everything about the quality Saliba brings. Ayyoub Bouadi, the name every Arsenal fan needs to know. Now we get to what is arguably the biggest Arsenal transfer story of this summer window so far. Ayyoub Bouadi, 18 years old, Lille midfielder. And the player who just announced himself to the entire world in the most dramatic way possible. Let us start with what happened on the pitch. Morocco faced Brazil in their World Cup group stage opener. Brazil were the favourites. It was Bouadi's first ever World Cup match. And he was 18 years old, stepping into one of the most hostile footballing environments imaginable. What he produced was extraordinary. In 90 minutes on the pitch, Bouadi completed 60 of his 66 attempted passes. That is a 91% pass accuracy against Brazil in a World Cup match. In the final third alone, he completed 16 out of 16 passes, 100% accuracy in the most dangerous area of the pitch. He also won 9 duels, made 6 ball recoveries and registered 5 interceptions. He was not dribbled past once in the entire game. Morocco held Brazil to a 1-1 draw in New Jersey. Fabrizio Romano, one of the most trusted names in transfer journalism, responded to that performance immediately. He posted Bouadi's stats and described the performance as a stunning debut. He called him a star that has been born. Even Kylian Mbappe reacted to Romano's post with fire emojis. When Mbappe is acknowledging your performance, the world is watching. Now here is where it directly connects to Arsenal. It is now clear that Arsenal have been tracking Bouadi for a long time. The interest did not begin with the World Cup. Even before the tournament started, Arsenal had already made direct contact with the player's agents. Romano confirmed this himself, stating that between January and the current moment, Arsenal have had direct conversations with Bouadi's representatives. Liverpool have also had meetings with his agents, and Paris Saint-Germain have been tracking him for a very long time, with Romano describing their interest as strong, though he noted they are not currently focused on midfielders as a priority. Reports also confirmed separately that Arsenal have now officially begun talks to sign Bouadi. He is described as one of Mikel Arteta's main transfer targets this summer. Lille value him at approximately £60 million. The competition for his signature is serious. Paris Saint-Germain, Chelsea and other major European clubs are all expected to compete for him. The World Cup performance has only intensified that competition. From an analytical standpoint, what makes Bouadi so attractive to Arsenal is clear. Arsenal have been looking to strengthen their midfield for some time. A player who operates at 91% pass accuracy, who wins duels, recovers the ball and maintains composure in the final third, all at 18 years old against Brazil in a World Cup match, is exactly the profile of player Arteta builds his system around. The intelligence on the ball, the defensive contribution without the ball, the composure under pressure, these are Arteta qualities. And Bouadi demonstrated all of them on the biggest stage in the world. The situation is that Arsenal are now in a race. This transfer is real, the talks have begun, but so has the competition. And at £60 million, this will require serious financial commitment from the club. Bradley Barcola, a winger option from Paris. Moving to the attacking areas, the name of Bradley Barcola has emerged in connection with Arsenal. Barcola is currently at Paris Saint-Germain. Reports describe Arsenal as a potentially ideal destination for the winger, with the argument being that Arteta has a proven record of improving young players, and Arsenal offers a clearer path to regular football compared to his current situation at the French club. The reasoning offered is straightforward. Arsenal are competing for major trophies. The dressing room culture is strong. The squad is built on trust and collective identity. For a player with Barcola's potential, that environment could allow him to become one of the Premier League's standout wide players. However, it is critical to note here that this remains at the level of a reported link and opinion. The situation is that this is a rumour at this stage. There is no confirmed contact, no confirmed offer, and no confirmed negotiation. Viewers should treat the Barcola story as a possibility being discussed, not a deal in progress. Arda Guler. The door that is closed. Not every transfer story this summer ends with Arsenal getting their man, and the Arda Guler situation is a clear example of that. Reports confirm that Real Madrid have no intention of selling Turkish midfielder Arda Güler this summer. Under Jose Mourinho, Madrid view Güler as a central part of the club's long-term project. Reports from Spain claim that Madrid are prepared to reject offers of up to €100 million for the player. Despite reported interest from Arsenal and Paris Saint-Germain in Güler, the reality is that he is considered untouchable by Madrid. He is expected to play an important role under Mourinho next season. The situation is straightforward. This particular door is closed. Arsenal will need to look elsewhere for the profile of player Güler represents, which is why the focus on Bouadi and other midfield targets makes complete sense in this context. Gabriel Magalhães on the World Cup stage. Finally, let us look at Arsenal's Brazilian defender Gabriel Magalhães, who made his World Cup debut for Brazil in the same match that Bouadi starred in for Morocco. The statistics from Gabriel's performance tell a clear story. He played the full 90 minutes. He had 97 touches of the ball, the most of any player on the pitch. He completed 82 of his 85 attempted passes. He made 2 blocked shots, 5 clearances and 5 ball recoveries. He won both of his aerial duels, giving him a 100% success rate in that area. These are strong numbers for a centre-back making his World Cup debut. The volume of touches shows he was deeply involved in Brazil's build-up play. The passing accuracy demonstrates composure with the ball. The defensive numbers reflect the kind of physical presence and positioning Arsenal fans know well from his performances in the Premier League. It is important to note that separate reporting has acknowledged Gabriel made a mistake during this match. Brazilian media rated his performance with that context in mind. But the raw statistical output tells you this was a player who was very much involved and not hidden during a difficult draw against an impressive Morocco side. For Arsenal, having a starting centre-back performing at this level on the World Cup stage is positive. It confirms the quality within the squad, even as the club works to bring in new additions this summer. The bigger picture, what all of this means for Arsenal. Now let us bring all of these threads together, because that is where the real analysis lives. Arsenal are entering the summer of 2026 in a position of genuine momentum. The manager is fully involved in transfer planning. There is optimism around his contract extension. The club is pursuing multiple signings at the same time. And the players representing Arsenal at the World Cup are performing at the highest level. The midfield targets, Bouadi at £60 million and Cone at around £43 million, tell you where the priority lies. Arsenal want to strengthen the engine room of the team. They want technical quality, defensive work rate, and young players who can grow within the system Arteta has built. The departure of Dr. Zafar Iqbal reminds us that clubs are living organisms. Staff come and go. Transitions happen behind the scenes as well as on the pitch. How Arsenal replaced the expertise he brought over 21 years will matter more than headlines suggest. The Saliba story, both the personal revelation about his early years at the club and Gyökeres naming him as the opponent he most wants to avoid, confirms something that analytical observers have been saying for some time. Saliba is not just a good defender, he is now one of the best defenders in the world, and that is in part because of decisions Arteta made that were unpopular at the time, but correct in the long run. And Bouadi's World Cup debut against Brazil is the kind of moment that reshapes transfer markets overnight. Arsenal saw something in this player before the world knew his name. Now the world knows. The competition for his signature will be fierce, but Arsenal are already at the table. The situation is that this is a club that is moving with purpose and clarity this summer. Every decision being made, every contact being initiated, every player being tracked, it all connects to a clear vision of where this team is going. The only question is whether the business gets done before the competition catches up. That is the Arsenal story on June 14th, 2026. And we will be watching every development closely right here on Jessica Arsenal Analyst. If you found this analysis useful, subscribe now so you never miss a breakdown like this. Share this video with any Arsenal supporter who wants to understand the full picture, not just the headlines, and drop your thoughts in the comments. Which transfer would you prioritize this summer? Bouadi, Cone, or someone else entirely? I will see you in the next one.